everyone, you're here for Skills Sorted. Just waiting for Lucy to join, and we've also got another special guest today, so Rosie Anderson, who will be joining us. She's a sports science student and she's specialising in menstrual cycles. So great to have both of them on the call. So I'm just going to invite them both.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am good. I'm just trying to get Rosie on the call as well. Hey.
Hey. How is everyone?
Good, thanks, Rosie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Lucy, okay?
There she is, Rosie making a debut. For people who don't know,
we'd get her in
she works at Man City with the team there, so me and Rosie work together every single day.
Lucky you, Lucy, that's all I can say.
Yeah, I was going to say lucky you, more like. Okay, so let's get started now. Everyone's here. Welcome everyone to We Play Strong and Gatorade. For the past few weeks we've been speaking about fuel, hydration, recovery. This week the discussion turns to our last topic, which is periods and menstrual cycle, hence why we've got a special guest. So a subject not always spoken about, but we're here to speak about it. So where to start?
Yeah.
I guess in general it's not really spoken about and not really considered when you speak about performance in women's sport, but actually it's quite a big component of high performance, well, any kind of performance, I suppose, and hopefully this discussion can help educate and give us a better understanding of how it does affect the women's game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're definitely here today to break down that taboo and also help like girls and women understand that it's completely normal to have a period. So it's probably best to start right at the top, Rosie, and that's why you're here. So are you able to tell everybody what a menstrual cycle is?
Yeah, for sure. So the menstrual cycle is a completely normal biological process, and it's not just the period, but it's actually a repeated pattern of changing hormones. So day one of the cycle is actually day one of your period, and then it goes on until day one of your next period. And this cycle length can vary, but usually the duration is around 21 to 35 days. But also potentially might be slightly longer for adolescents or teenagers, maybe up to around 40 days. I think one thing that's important to get across in this episode is how unique that cycle is to you as an individual. Everyone is different, and yeah, I can't really stress that enough.
Yeah, so why are we speaking about it? I guess there's lots of symptoms that are connected to the menstrual cycle, period, and obviously, as Rosie said, there's different phases, so at different times this can be different symptoms that can affect your performance. So I guess that's why we want to speak about is how it can affect your performance.
Yeah, and everybody might experience like different symptoms during their menstrual cycle, and as Rosie said, it's kind of due to the different sex hormones that are increasing and decreasing at different phases of our cycle. And you know, sometimes they can be like cause physical discomfort, like people might feel that, or like some psychological changes. So it can make training or playing difficult, like sometimes quite hard. But you know, there's other times of the menstrual cycle where you might feel like really energized and feel really like powerful. So it's not just like all about the negatives. So yeah, Rosie, do you want to talk a bit more about how individual they are, each menstrual cycle?
Yeah, so I think what's important to get across is that not only will your experience of the menstrual cycle be different to others, so to your friends or to your teammates, but might actually be different for yourself. So what I mean by that is 1 month you might experience some symptoms, and then maybe the next month they might be worse, or another month you might not experience any at all. Like we've said, the menstrual cycle is unique to everyone, and actually some lucky people aren't even impacted at all. So I guess another thing to get across is if you don't have any symptoms, don't panic.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the lucky ones because I don't tend to have many symptoms, but I think it's important that we recognise that there are positives and negatives, and with that, you know, I feel the positive benefits of that extra energy that you sometimes feel. I know some of my teammates have symptoms of belly cramps and things like that, but I think it's important to know that there's ways to help you when you're feeling like that. There are things that you can do, whether it's what you eat or how you train. It's just knowing what that looks like and what that is.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess as you've alluded to there, Lucy, actually when you look at the research that's been done into this area, a lot of athletes do kind of report those negative side effects, but they also do report kind of more positive ones at different points in their cycle. And they kind of suggest that these side effects do have implications or do impact their performance in training and competition and matches, whatever the sport may be. I guess some of the most common symptoms that athletes report include things like stomach cramps, breast soreness, mood changes, or just general kind of feelings of fatigue and tiredness. And these can happen at different stages. So whether that's kind of before the period or during or maybe after. And like I said before, this changes between people, but also between each different menstrual cycle. So yeah, I think it's important to note that it's not always going to be the same. But yeah, you can kind of experience it quite differently.
I think that's where, like, I know we keep logs. I think it's important that I think that there's a lot of apps now that have been created where you can keep a log of these different symptoms, and it helps you understand a little bit. And I know that it's something that we get promoted to use these logs, and so that it helps us understand, but helps us see these kind of patterns and know when it's coming and kind of predict a little bit more.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like it's a really good way to do it is to like track your menstrual cycle, and then you can kind of see, like, you know, sometimes you just feel not as good about yourself, and then you're like, oh, you look at like what you've tracked and you're like, oh, this is because I might be on my period in a couple of days. Or you might be like, oh, I feel so strong and I feel like really energized, and then you look at your tracking and it's like, oh, this is because I'm in this phase of the cycle. So do you see that, Rosie, with like your experience working with athletes?
Yeah, 100%. I think it just allows people to become more in tune with their body and understand it better. And then with that just allows you to be more prepared for what might come. So I guess when we mention about things like tracking and monitoring your cycle, the types of things that might include would be looking at kind of when your period is. So day one, when does it start, how heavy your bleeding is, and what symptoms you experience. And yeah, it's just a really useful tool. It just enables you to kind of see those patterns over time, which hopefully will then kind of alleviate kind of any anxieties around it. And also allow you to be more prepared. If you know kind of roughly when you might be due to come on, you can make sure you've got kind of sanitary products, whether that's pads or tampons or whatever you use in your bag, just to kind of alleviate that stress around it, because you know that you're ready whenever it comes.
Hey, Lucy, got a question for you. Do you feel like over your career it's more like spoken about, like in the club and outside of the club, or in different environments?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that we can gain a lot from, because there is a little bit more research now. I think there's definitely can be a lot more. However, I think the more I've played over, especially over recent years, there has been more help, especially at the top level. I think hopefully discussions like this can filter down into lower level, but we're very lucky that we have people who, like Rosie, are doing research into it, so we have that little bit of extra knowledge. And especially when you think about tournaments that predominantly are 4 weeks long. So within that, the majority of the girls will have their period whilst they're there. So I think it's how do we make the most of the good and how do we help the bad moments, and how do we make the most out of the good moments within those 4 week tournaments. But equally at the same time, you have that throughout a season if you think about it. So yeah, I mean, I think over the last 2 years more so, I've been more in tune to the benefits of like we have this thing in England about as period smoothies, which sounds silly, but it's just extra bits of nutrition depending on which phase you're in. So whether you need with swelling or whatever it is, just small little gains like that can make a big difference. But yeah, I think obviously there's going to be more research put into it now, and hopefully there's going to be more than just period smoothies in the future to help people like myself, but all the women that are playing, that have symptoms, that don't have symptoms, that we can help positively affect their performances.
I think we need to think of a better name than period smoothie. I think that would be the start.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions as well, feel free to jot them down, whether it is for myself or Rosie loves a good question. Gets questioned every day.
I did see one actually. It was around like changing your training plan depending on the like stage of your cycle. Like Rosie, maybe I'll go to you first. Like, is there any research to suggest that you should change your training depending on the phase of your menstrual cycle?
I think at the moment, based on the current kind of pool of research, there isn't necessarily evidence to say that you should do this in this specific phase. I think kind of, as we've all alluded to throughout this kind of episode, is that it's so individual. So if you notice something that does help you from a training perspective, in terms of that symptom management or just understanding your body a little bit better, then you should implement those things and kind of use a trial and error process. But yeah, it's a difficult one because you don't want to just throw a blanket over everyone and say, okay, everyone in this phase, we're going to do this, because it impacts everyone differently. So it's about really kind of, like Lucy said, there is a big need for more research, and I think it needs to be kind of at that individual level of how can we support each individual to be kind of performing at their optimum at any stage in their cycle.
And Lucy's internet's going in and out, so I don't know if you there, Lucy?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't know whether you find
madness smoothie.
Oh, is that what they're
yeah.
I like
that. And what about like the conversations with like coaches? Do you find that it's like an open conversation, like where you train? Like, do you talk about it openly?
I think more so with teammates. Obviously, I think people like Rosie and sports scientists are the ones who we have the conversations with, but I think coaches are becoming more open to it. Whether they are male or female, I don't think it makes a difference. I think the more we make this conversation just a normal conversation, it is, at the end of the day, it's about performance, and whether that was to do with your menstrual cycle, or you've rolled your ankle, or you've got a concussion, these are all things that we're talking about at a performance level. So I think nowadays, I say nowadays like a good old phrase, but yeah, nowadays it is becoming the norm. I remember Phil Neville at England, he was our England manager when Dawn Scott was put in charge, and she had quite a big focus on menstrual cycles and periods and what they look like, and Phil was open to all sorts of conversations about how that would affect girls in training, and whether certain girls needed to be doing certain things. And yeah, I think the more we speak about it and the more everybody's open about it, it's for the better, really. And yeah, so far I've had really good positive conversations, I suppose, with coaches, with nutritionists, with sports scientists, with physios, yeah, everybody. I think it's becoming the normal kind of conversation. I think that's the way it should be.
You make a really good point as well, in that like it's good that there's males that talk about it as well, and that they feel like confident and educated to have a conversation around this topic. So yeah, we really do need to talk about it more.
I think you're right. I think the key to that is to make sure that everyone is educated. I think these conversations on platforms like this is massive in that, because yeah, if everyone's equipped with the knowledge and a good understanding of how it impacts everyone, and how it impacts kind of performance, then we can make those conversations much easier because everyone has the knowledge to have them.
Yeah, I think that's definitely why, you know, I wanted to mention that thing about Phil Neville to be like, you know, whether you're a woman or a man, just be open to it, be comfortable with it. And there's more and more research out there. You can Google it, you can watch back, you know, these episodes even, and get more information about it.
Sounds great. Yeah, I'm actually really glad that we've had this conversation and that we are talking about this as a topic. So, and Rosie, thank you for joining us tonight.
No worries.
Yeah, big thank you, everyone. Everyone show Rosie some love on the comments. She's been dreading it. Look at her, she's gone bright red. She's been dreading it. She's so nervous. But yeah, big thanks to Rosie for sharing your expertise today. Becca, thanks as always for your expertise, not only today but in the past couple of weeks, both on Instagram and obviously with Ella, who I know will be watching. Big thank you to Ella. Everyone's so proud of how well she's been doing, taking on information and making changes to a game and just showing everybody how we're capable of implementing all these things. So well done from all of us. Thank you everybody for watching, and you can watch these all back, whether it's all live, whether it's the episodes with Ella. Check it out on the We Play Strong YouTube channel. And yeah, I guess thank you everyone, and it's a goodbye now. It's not a see you next week.
I know. Yeah, and thank you, Lisa. You've been fab to work with. So yeah, thanks. Good team.
Good job.
Brilliant. Thanks guys.
Bye bye.
See you later. Bye.